Namaste and welcome to Namaste Let's Talk. We show up for Diwali, Holi, and Ganesh Chaturthi, but so many of us are missing at the ballot box. Today's topic is something that we often overlook, but is very deeply important for our communities: voting. And I have two amazing and incredible guests with me. Dr. Ketan Goswamiji, who is a practicing endocrinologist and is president of Hindus of Georgia Political Action Committee. And then we have attorney Rupal Vaishnavji, who is practicing in Georgia since 1999. He has experience in both civil and criminal law. He is public servant at heart and has ran for Forsyth County State Court Judge candidate in 2022. Together, we will be diving into how Hindu Americans can take action and shape our democracy. I welcome both of you to our podcast and thank you very much for agreeing to do this. Before we dive in further, my first question is if you could tell your background briefly and what got both of you involved in this election or civic process?
So I'm an endocrinologist by profession, as you say, and I had least concern about the politics. But at some point things became quite personal, that when I see that if the kids, especially second generation, if they don't want to identify as a Hindu, then I thought, what is the point of my education, my wealth, my social status? So then we started this Hindus of Georgia Political Action Committee, which is a non-partisan political action committee. Mm-hmm. And with this, we want to make sure that our community gets engaged into the political process. Because much smaller communities than us, they have done a fantastic job at making their communities safer and putting their communities' questions in front of the elected officials. Mm-hmm. So we thought, why not we do this? So that's why we started this.
Amazing.
So first of all, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be interviewed by the young folks, because then I feel like I'm a little bit younger than I am. So thank you. Again, Rupal Vaishnav. I've been in Georgia for most of my life. I grew up in the South Side, which is Riverdale, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Most folks know the Hindu temple down in the South Side. Our connection to that is it was four of us: my brother, my older brother, my parents, and I. And we actually saw the temple being built. So we were there from the beginning to the end. I went to Georgia Tech from undergrad, did my mechanical engineering, as every Indian should, right? And then go Yellow Jackets. After that, I went to law school. Before law school, I worked as an engineer for a little while. Then I volunteered in the Olympics in 1996 when we had them in the Atlanta Atlanta Olympics. And I actually wanted to be part of the India team in terms of volunteer. But I got a little country called Bhutan, which I didn't know where it was until they said, well, you're getting Bhutan. I'm like, excuse me, what? He goes, yeah, because we have too many in the India team, so you get Bhutan. What an amazing experience. We had two athletes, both in archery for the entire country. I got to meet their UN ambassador, their head of the Olympic mission. So I had a great time. And then I ultimately got an invitation to go to Australia from them as part of their delegation, which I couldn't do then because life had taken over. But then I went to law school, graduated, practiced law here in Georgia ever since. I've been a prosecutor, been in private practice, and I'm now back as a prosecutor again, representing the state of Georgia. So
amazing.
Thank you.
Long journey.
Long journey. Not over yet.
Interesting though.
Yeah, not over yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question for you, Rupalji.
Yes.
That what got you to run for local office, and how was your experience as a American Hindu then?
Well, growing up here, I think a lot of the kids still identify with the same crisis that I had. Like, what am I? I'm trying to blend in. When you're young, you're always trying to blend in, right? Because the oddball that you are, no one likes that. So you're trying to blend in, make friends and all that. As you get older, much like what Ketan was saying, you start questioning, like, who am I? What am I? What are my beliefs? What are my philosophy and so forth? So I'm a proud Hindu. I believe everyone should have faith. whether it's whatever faith you have, because faith grounds you, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And faith is what gives you the bearings that you need as you inspire to do whatever you want to do.
Yes.
So you got to have faith, number one. Whatever your faith is. I don't preach for any one particular.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a proud Hindu. My parents are devout Hindus. And so with that being said, we moved into the county, 2008, and I was practicing law here. I started with the county law firm. And so I was representing actually Forsyth County in legal situations. And I was also a prosecutor up here in Forsyth County, where I was basically the chief prosecutor for the magistrate court.
Mm-hmm.
But fast forward, I'm in my practice and everything, and then eventually this opportunity in 2022 came up. I was not in private practice at the time. I was back into government. Again, also been a public servant, so I'm back in the government. And I got a wind of the opening. What had happened was the sitting judge, and we can talk about the kind of judgeship I was going for, but essentially the sitting judge was retiring and decided not to seek election. So the first thing that people have to understand is in Georgia, judges get elected. There are times when judges get appointed, but then eventually most local judges have to get elected, barring municipal court and so forth. So this position was an elected position. I've been involved in politics here and there, but prior to this instance, I was never involved in politics because I was too busy with everything else, like everybody else, like we'll talk about. But when someone notified me and said, "Hey, Rupal, there's an opening in the judgeship, I think you should do it," my wife and I, who's been my steadfast partner through this whole journey, and really, I am the example of where every man has a strong woman behind him. I have a strong woman behind me, and she has been steadfast. And she said, "If this is what you want to do, do it." And I said, "But why would I want to do it?" And to your question, I felt that it was important to get involved in the community, to give back to the community, and I felt that I had the qualifications and the caliber to give back in the most professional way I knew how, using my intellect and my legal knowledge. And I had practiced criminal and civil law. And so I then and now I believe that I could give back and contribute in a very positive way. And that's how we decided to run for that position.
No, I really appreciate your thought process. And I personally feel that as an Hindu American, we don't have that much of representation in all those aspects, especially when you think about in the political, any branch that could be. We don't have that many representation. People don't step up. So I'm really happy, and I'm also proud of you for taking up that step.
No, I would just add one more thing, that I'm absolutely proud of who I am, no doubt about it. But it wasn't so much about representation from a Hindu American or whatever. It was a representation of someone that I believe not only part of the larger community, as a South Asian or as a Hindu, and also as just being a Forsythian, being in this community. But it was most importantly to say, I can give back. I have gotten so much from the community. It's time for me to give back to the community and the larger community. While the Hindu thing obviously is absolutely important, it was never the first and foremost thing, obviously. And the reason being is because the job that I was aspiring for, and God willing one day I'll still get, is not whoever comes in front of you. It doesn't matter the color of the creed. You have to be fair as a judge. And that was the most important thing. So thank you for saying that.
It's truly incredible. Ketanji, what inspired you to be involved in the civil process, and then what does your work look like day to day?
Okay, so I don't have the exciting story like he does.
You do, you just got to dig deep.
So the thing is, it became very personal, as I said. I think it started in 2014. The election in India that changed the political power somehow changed the behavior of people in this country. And that started kind of hurting me. And I said, whatever happened in India, that should not impact me here. Because I'm a local American individual, and I'm a citizen. At the time I was not, I later became citizen. But my kids are grown up here. And if this group is going to impact us, how can they fight back? So I realized that the system seems to be against us. And if I'm not part of the system, I cannot change it. So we have to get involved with the system. And I think that is where we meaning me and my wife, we both decided. And then we got a group of these very fantastic individuals. So we formed a pack and we started doing this political advocacy. And so, okay, how do we get involved? How can we make our points across? And I'm glad we did this because we formed the pack in 2020. And since then, we have learned our lessons, good or bad. We have made mistakes and we have made some good friends in the community or in the political arena. Too bad we supported him, but he didn't win. So he was one of the oddballs that didn't win. And the other thing was our group, the Hindu American community. As a community, we don't go out and vote. Yeah. Our voting characteristics are very subpar.
Yeah.
So we thought, how can we make our community get involved? And I'm glad to say that with this over 5 years, especially during the last election, due to or with the public education, we were able to introduce at least 1,000 new voters into our district.
Fantastic.
And that also improved the voter turnover. And when I speak to some of the elected officials, they say, well, we are now seeing more participation of the Hindu American community, which I think we are very, very proud of. Day to day, I work as a full-time physician, so whatever free time I get, that extra time gets devoted to political research or engaging with the political candidates or the elected officials and plan out how can we make this better for everyone. So there is no selfish goal, but it's a goal for the entire community.
Yeah, I have also had this personal observation that not just recently, but from the past few years or maybe almost a decade, the turnout of voter registrations and the participation of Hindu Americans is quite low compared to any other community. And as you had mentioned just a few minutes back in your introduction, that a lot of other faiths who are not that many in numbers comparative to us as Hindus are still very active and are doing their civic duty. But we who have been here for a long time now, we have almost more than 2 generations living in this country, but we don't have that big support or that kind of attitude, emotion that we have to do this like civic duty or show up and vote.
So I think we have not institutionalized our efforts. See, we individually do it, but we don't have the institution that supports us. And we want to make sure that we create these institutions where people can go and say, okay, this institution is going to support us.
So this is for both of you. Why do you think voter turnout, especially among Hindu Americans, tend to be so low at local elections?
So I can speak from the candidate perspective. And so, and it kind of segues to the first question you had asked, which I neglected not to answer, totally skipped my mind. My experience with the voter interaction, right? And I'm sure Caitlin's got a different perspective, but my interaction was that I think depending on the audience, it's a complex question and a complex answer, but in a nutshell, people didn't feel connected, either because they chose to not understand what was going on. For example, the biggest question I would get is, judges are elected? Judges are elected? Why are you running for election? And so I would explain to them that, judges are elected in Georgia. Judges are nonpartisan in Georgia. Because then they were like, which party are you? Blah, blah, blah. And so the biggest challenge, the biggest reason I felt they were not actively participating because they were just not paying attention to what happens locally. They're not connected locally. I think if you can connect them somehow, if they feel that this is also their piece of everybody owns a piece of the earth. We pay mortgage on it, whatever, but it's our piece of earth. You protect that piece of earth. You buy insurance for that piece of earth, right? You put the fence up for that piece of earth. You do all these things to protect your piece of earth. Yeah. Well, I want you to take that mentality and say, the community is my piece of earth, right? And I need to protect the community. I need to serve the community. That connection only comes when they believe that they belong and that community belongs to them and they belong to the community. And so the challenge was that for whatever reasons they didn't choose to engage in that, they wouldn't know what's going on. And so then when I approached them, I would have 2 very distinct interactions. When I would approach a house that had someone of Indian background or even another background other than a mainstream, what I call mainstream America or mainstream community, the interaction is, hello, sir. Oh, why are you here? And I'm like, I'm canvassing. I'm knocking on your door to earn your vote. And very different conversation to somebody who's familiar with the process, because then immediately they would be like, well, what's your position? What do you stand for? Where are you coming from? And what do you do? What's your education background? So an educated electorate is an engaged electorate. And we've got to educate them. And I know we're going to talk about that, but that's what I felt was the biggest issue.
I think from my side, I would defend the first generation Hindu Americans, because when we come from India, or wherever we come from, sometimes many of us have never voted before. Okay? Because we have been taught that these politicians are these criminals and sleazy animals that better stay away from them. Don't interact with them. Okay? However, the field is totally different in the United States, because here the politicians and elections, they come in different flavors. So unless you're, as you say, unless you're educated about it, you will make these assumptions. And because of that, our involvement with this system is not very predictable and not very engaging. On the other side, there are a lot of issues which also create the voter apathy. Meaning certain issues or the leaders may create this momentum which swings huge. And certain times some of the issues, they're kind of, it's boring, one more election, okay, I don't feel connected to this election, or the leader. So when you have a leader that is kind of pulling the community, that creates significant momentum for people to be motivated, or against that. If you don't like a leader, you're more likely to go out and vote and say, not this, or for this. So if you have these swings or the extremes, you have great voter turnout. But if you have these mediocre things, then I think this enthusiasm is pretty much damaged.
I think what I have understood is that education is very important.
Yes.
You have to be aware and educated what's happening. I am also technically first generation and second generation, but I had the similar thing. My parents would be voting in India because they were citizens. When they moved here, they were not citizens. I'm a natural citizen here. So when I had my first time voting, my parents would not know. It's not that they choose to be unaware, it's that they are not very thorough with the process of American legal election process, which is quite different from any other country that does not have the same type of democracy that we do. Anyone that who follows a parliamentary type of democracy does not know this concept, and they did not know. And my father, who is well versed with the current affairs and reads, would always take an effort then and will tell me, okay, when you have to think about it, you have to think of what the person is bringing on table. You know, what's their education background? What are some facts that they bring in? And he helped me. But anybody else who was first generation, and I'll talk to them, had the same issue. They're not educated. And because their type of whatever awareness or idea they have of the education process is not similar to ours, they have some connotations that politicians are corrupt, they don't care, they are criminals or whatever stuff, and they don't take that effort. They're so emotionally connected to home country or wherever they come from that they don't take that effort. And I feel education is important.
Absolutely. And I was going to say is that you guys both touched on it. Because I came at an early age here, I've not experienced Indian politics or politics in India, but I've certainly grew up in politics here. And I think what y'all said kind of resonates that I didn't think about before, that how are they viewing me as a candidate, right?
Yes.
When I decided to run, I'm a citizen who is empowered to do the things that I think I can do. I had a law license, which every judge is required to be a lawyer. And said, so as a citizen Joe Blow, which is what I was, I said, you know what? I can make a difference. This is a position that's open, and I can give back to the community, represent the community, do the things that I feel are correct, and provide my intellect and excellence in doing that job, right? Like you do any other job, right? But that's not how the people were seeing me, I guess, at times, right? And that's the difference, because in here, as y'all know, we have folks who are just average citizens who get involved, who step up to the plate, if you will, because they think they can make a difference. In whatever small way or large way, the motivation is usually always, I want to make a difference, or I want to do something that will reflect what I think should be out there, whichever side you're on.
Yeah.
And I think educating the people on that who are the elected here and what kind of folks they are is very different than what I think I'm hearing from you guys about what was back home.
Yeah.
And the other piece is just a sense of belonging. They've got to internalize a sense of community and belonging.
Yes.
And that's the biggest challenge. If you can do that for your home, like we were saying earlier, why not do it for your community?
You have to be emotionally connected to this land
because it will affect
to
you.
worry for it. Yeah,
that's right.
Especially when you are working. This is your bread winning place. Your home, shelter, resources, everything you get in this country. Why are you not so emotional? Why are you not so passionate? And I feel everyone who's running in whichever level in this whole process is usually very passionate, number one, and they have the same motto: make America great again.
Yes.
And I think when they have this, I think we also should make an effort to kind of be connected.
Oh, absolutely. And as Ketan said, as I also have 2 kids here, right? Who grew up here, much like you guys. And if you can connect them with the future of our kids and the future of our country or our community, our county, whatever it is that whichever level you're at, then I think it's easier to say, okay, this impacts me now directly because I love my kids, I love my country, I love my county, I love my state. If I can get that in them, if I can get that feeling invoked in them, they absolutely will step up to the plate. It's getting that feeling, getting that whatever challenges that they have, and say, yes, sometimes you go out there and you might be the only one out there, but don't dissuade that, because when you don't understand, when you're out there, someone's seeing you out there. Someone's seeing you, it's like picking up the garbage, right? If you're picking up the garbage on the street, you may be like, I'm the only one picking up garbage over here, but someone's seeing you, you keep it long enough, someone's going to come join you. And that's what I want people to believe. That's what I felt it really needed to happen. And I think it will happen. Of course it's happening, but it needs to continue to happen.
Slowly but definitely.
Sure, absolutely.
And also I think to add to that, the election process in the US is sometimes complicated for people to understand.
Yes.
Electoral college. Okay. Different types of judges. I have no clue how many types of judges are there.
Correct.
Really. Okay. Then there is state representative, state senator, US congressman, US senator, okay, school boards. I mean, there's so many different layers. Counties, cities. Okay. So if you don't understand all these nuances, it is very easy to get lost.
Yes.
And then you say, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Okay. So that's where the trouble is sometimes.
Yeah. Then while we're discussing this, something that comes in my mind is that what is at stake when people don't show up for voting, especially in the local and state level elections?
Sure. I've always heard growing up here, and again, when I was running, is that all politics is local. And so everything that or not everything, of course, but a lot of your life is based on local politics, from zoning, school board decisions. Zoning is building, do you want houses? Do you want commercial? Do you want a gas station? Do you want a church, a cemetery, whatever it is, right? That's all local. Taxes, local. So what's at stake? Almost everything of your daily impactful things are at stake. And if you're going to be involved at the local level first. It's bite-sized. You can feel it, you can touch it, you can see them. Federal is so far away in DC, sometimes it feels like, yes, we see all the major stories about federal elections, and you don't hear a lot about the local, but it's where the local folks are is where it really matters. So
it is in your reach.
It's in your reach, and it's absolutely something that will impact you. So that's what's at stake. Get your voice heard, get engaged, and help make the community a better place. Bring whatever your expertise you have to the table and make it a better place.
So I think I would split this into 2 groups. One is the general local politics, and second one should be specific to what the Hindu Americans are facing.
Yeah.
So the first one you said is absolutely correct. Spot on, because 2/3 of the issues that concern us as a citizen are local. As you mentioned, zoning, roads, developments, school boards, everything you name it, it's local. Apart from that, the things that are specific to the Hindu community, People don't think about that. But we are seen as different. Whether we like it or not, whether he speaks the totally perfect American English without the accent, okay, he still will stand out as a brown man. Okay. That creates sometimes the hostilities towards us. Whether we like it or not, it happens. It's a human nature.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that people are doing this intentionally. It happens. But that gets into to the point where it creates this stereotype. And this stereotype leads to the marginalization of the Hindu community. And then that leads to the seriousness such as Hindu-phobic taunts or the even as serious as physical harm. Now, if you are not aware of this, clearly your politician or the elected official is not going to know this unless you go and educate them. So if you go and talk to them and say, hey, these are our concerns, they will listen to you. Because honestly, I have not met a single politician so far that has not voiced their concern about this. And if you remember about 2-3 years ago, there was this sign coming up in the Forsyth County where no bindi signs. And actually, one of the Caucasian gentlemen who found that, and they called sheriff, they contacted us, and we contacted local congressman and local state senator, state representative. They all got together, and those signs were gone in a matter of few hours. They all kind of put out these statements that this is not what Forsyth County means. So unless you are engaged, nobody's going to come out and fight your fight. You have to make sure people understand this. So I think we have to look into these two different ways. So I'm not saying that we should live into a silo and say, well, this is us only. But we have to say there are certain things which impact us.
While we are a part of this place, we have some issues which should be addressed as well. And I think the only way they can be addressed is when we also go and educate the people who say that they want to help us have a better life, have a better place, that these are our issues and this is what we're going through. So I'm sure they'll definitely take that step. If they're not aware, they cannot take the step.
And also on the same token, let's say school curriculum issue. I'm sure our kids, or whoever has gone through the high school or the middle school, they know how the Hindus or Hinduism is taught in the schools, which creates a bias in these young minds, and that leads to bullying.
Yeah.
Same thing with the caste issues which are coming from West Coast, and they are seeping their way throughout the nation. And they will have real life impact on us or our children to get a job or to get your children into the educational institution. If the caste issue is become the main concern or main issue there, then you may not even have a job, or the kids may not be able to get the admissions to the colleges because then they will see as high risk.
Yep. And the way it's presented is also like highly wrong. So I think when we start educating everyone around us and ourselves, I think we could make a difference.
Good.
And the thing is, like, we're all ambassadors, right? Because we, in our own silos of our own networks, our friends and community, I've also been asked certain questions about the faith and about, especially when I was running for the office, like, what is your faith and how are you grounded? And of course, my focus was more on the position than anything else. But, I commend obviously groups like yours and others that are really what I call advocacy groups that are advocating because they do have a specific mission in mind that they're leveraging on. And so, that's what makes America great. Everybody with advocacy groups are out there advocating their point of view. I tell you, the signs, it was on Bethel Road in Forsyth County, which is right outside the main road that my house is off.
Yes.
You mentioned that, I just thought about it now that you mentioned it, that I remember the signs were like little bitty poster signs that were stuck on the center divide of the highway, and there must have been 100+ signs, and it was against a temple that was coming. It was in the zoning, and clearly one dastardly person or a couple of persons put these signs overnight as a coward that they were, right? Because they were in the darkness of the night and did it so nobody would stop them. And one thing I recognized was how accessible, because of the efforts that you guys are making, but in general, the politicians, the local politicians were, because I remember calling my commissioner I didn't know anything about Hindu Pac or anything at the time. And I called my commissioner and I said, these signs are offensive. I knew another commissioner from the chamber. I called her. I said, these signs are offensive. And not knowing what you guys had already done in the background, everybody was condemning what was happening. Mm-hmm. And the sheriff, I think, sent out deputies to go pick up these signs immediately in the morning before the beginning of the heavy traffic would start on the weekend. Because they were designed to be put in early morning, and then as traffic flow occurs and increases as the day goes on, it was meant to get everyone's attention. Mm-hmm. And so I commend the advocacy groups, but also the local guys, because they stood up and they immediately did it. And one thing I'll say, real quick tangent, is the mindset that helps voters understand what's at stake. It may also help them to understand how accessible our local elected leaders are. Mm-hmm. We don't need to be fancy. We don't need to be financially somebody, well off, whatever. Mm-hmm. The elected will respond if you call. They all have cell phones. They all have county numbers, or they all have emails, and they encourage you to call them and say, "Let me know what's going on that's bothering you, and we'll take care of it."
That's true. If you don't tell me, I will never know what you're going through.
Exactly.
So you have to mention. Yeah. When I was a first-time voter and I was interacting with a lot of people, because all my friends were first-time voters. Nobody had any clue or any idea about this. So we were also asking people, what are your thoughts? Where are you coming off from? And obviously, I will interact with a lot of people who are not just of my age, but any age group, from any ethnicity, any background. And one common thing that I heard, I'll be speaking mostly for India because I met mostly who have grew up in India. And they would be like, I don't know, like who's gonna help India more? Or who is going to like help them more? And the first thing that was stuck in my mind is, why do we care? We have a whole set of people dedicated to take care of that country who are working for the people of that country. Why can we not think from the perspective that what is happening here? And when this situation happens, at times people feel they don't want to vote here. And then they feel that their vote does not matter. So what would you say to someone who either chooses not to vote because number one, does not like any of the candidates, or number two, just thinks that it doesn't matter, it's just one vote, and it's so insignificant.
So I think everyone gets one vote, right?
Yeah, you better only have one vote. That's right.
But the vocal community can make a big difference. Mm-hmm. So remember, most of the elections, especially the local elections, are won by typically tens or hundreds of votes. Mm-hmm. Okay? You're not getting this landslide of 100,000 votes in these small elections. Literally, people have won by 10 votes, 20 votes, 50 or 100 votes. Mm-hmm. So your vote matters in the local election. So you should do that. Secondly, when you vote as a community, you are noticed. You are noted, you are respected by elected officials. They give value to you and say, okay, this community does come out and vote. We can count on them to at least come out and vote, right? For good or bad. Meaning, if you do something right and they want to support you, you can count on that small fraction of vote and say, well, a couple of 100 or 300 votes, if I do this, this or that, I can get elected. Mm-hmm. So that does make an importance. So keep that in mind. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that, everything 100%. I mean, local elections, local votes are so powerful. Yeah. But I think it's also the perspective from myself as one who ran would be, it's a bond, it's a contract we have. Mm-hmm. Your job is to show up and do your civic duties to vote. Mm-hmm. My job is, if I get elected, to represent your interest. Yes. And so it's a contract. And so you vote because obviously you want your voice heard. But what I will also say is, because when you have that issue, when you have a concern, when you have a problem, and you show up to somebody's doorstep and say, hey, can you fix this for me? They'll ask and say, where were you the last time? Did you vote the last time? You have a right to complain if you voted. You don't have a right to complain if you didn't vote. And it's that contract that people don't understand sometimes, that we want you to come out and vote, whatever your interests are, whoever your candidate is, but that's your obligation. That's what you, as a member of our society, that's what you take on. And at the same time, when you have your concerns, somebody will listen and they won't say, well, did you vote? You can't complain if you didn't vote. And so if you want to have a say so, you need to do your part, and you have to go vote. And look, it's a time commitment. It's the middle of the day. It's I have to drive out. They've made it so simple if you really think about it. All right, there's really no excuse to say I don't have time. All right, you have early voting. In many areas, you have absentee voting, which means you can get your ballots in advance, typically months in advance, so you can vote in the comfort of your house if you're medically or physically not able to go anywhere. If you have work schedule or whatever, usually advanced voting before the actual date of election is multiple days throughout the day, and this is not even on weekends. I think Forsyth County has like one Sunday and one Saturday voting, early voting. And this is not a concern for just our community. It's a concern for the entire community. Everybody has voter apathy on these local elections because you know why? It's not sexy. It's not getting on the national news. You're not seeing headlines about it. But it's the most important election, and that's why, because people aren't showing up, no matter wherever you are, every vote counts. And so don't think that Ketan is going to show up and vote on he and I are alike, so he's going to go take care of it. So my interest is covered because he's going to go vote. Well, that's what everybody thinks. Then Ketan thinks Rupal's going to go vote. Nobody goes and vote, right? So you've got to do your civic part.
Plus, he's doing his like part. You have to do your part.
Correct.
I'm doing it for myself.
Correct.
Also for the community, but when I vote, I'm thinking for myself and then community. That's how we think.
Right.
So everybody individually has to do.
Absolutely.
And I also think that, as we say, something is better than nothing. So someone is better than no one.
Correct.
If you vote for someone, it will help. There are times when things don't go the way you want, but if you don't do it at all, then nothing will happen.
Yeah. I've had Ketan knows some of these same folks locally elected as I do. There's one particular conversation I had with an elected, and I was like, "Oh, this is something in your district, and it was a zoning issue, and this is coming in your district, and I see there's a lot of opposition." It happened to be a lot of opposition from primarily the Indian community for this particular situation, and I remember him telling me very clearly, "Rupal, they never show up to vote, they never do anything, and they only want to come complain." And I can't serve that interest all the time. You got to pull your civic obligation, let me do mine. Sometimes you're not going to win, and that's fine, but that's just the process that we have to go through. So don't let the fact that one bad decision or your candidate didn't win, whatever it is, you can't let that stop. That's just the way it works. You got to redo every 2 years in certain elections. You got to redo every 4 years, every 6 years, and you got to keep doing it. That's what it means.
100%. So now that we have discussed about what's at stake and stuff, so I want to let's go in more to the process and misconceptions. That what are some steps, basic steps, someone in Georgia needs to take to make sure that they are eligible to vote or are registered to vote?
So definitely to vote you have to be US citizen. So make sure that your citizenship is done. Number 2, you need to be registered as a voter. And you can do this at the time of your citizenship, naturalized citizenship. If you go and get your driver's license, you can also register there. You can go to Secretary of State's website and you can register there. You can also go to our website, hindusofgeorgia.com. And if you go to the electoral process, we have the same information where you can find out where you can vote, who is your representative, and how to register for the vote. So it's a pretty simple process. Every, I think, county offices will also help you register the vote. So do register to vote, but at the end of the day, do go out and vote.
What are the most common myths or confusion you hear in the community about registering or voting?
So I think Rupal touched on this earlier, that we all find the excuses not to go out and vote. I'll tell you a story. One of the person who lives in my community, on the day of election, she calls me and says, "Where are we voting?" So I send the actual address. Then I get a phone call again, half an hour later, and say, "Where? Which building?" You're there. See where the people. Actually, the point is, good thing that person did go there and vote. But these are the excuses. We wait till the last minute. Oh, I don't like the candidate. I don't like the issues being thrown at this. Okay, not today. Long lines. All kind of excuses come in. But at the end of the day, being a citizen, It is your civic duty to do this. So since I have become the US citizen, I can say I have voted just about every single election, even the primaries. I just go out and vote. So go out and vote.
Yeah. One of the excuses that I hear when I was in college, so procrastination is something that students tend to have all their education life, and they'll procrastinate.
Right.
Not today, tomorrow, next week. We have early ballots. The
Right.
reason we have early voting is so that you don't have to stand in long lines and you can get in a faster way. We'll delay. And then on the day of election, the argument or the excuse comes to me is, we didn't get off. The classes were not off. We're supposed to do our civic duty,
Right.
but the university didn't give us off.
Right.
Wait 2 hours. And I would think in my head that you had almost 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks.
More than.
But you still couldn't go and vote, and now today you're coming and telling me the university didn't give me 2 hours
To go
or an
vote.
excuse absence to go and vote. So the priorities are clearly not voting.
And I mean, for the youth, I understand that, okay. But for adults, I don't think we have any excuse.
No, and in fact, when you add the fact that Georgia law for adults gives you time off for the next year, you really can't give it. Because the law requires you to get time off to go vote.
I know.
Yeah.
2 hours.
Really?
Yeah, the employer has to give you 2 hours to go vote on election day.
Yeah, universities tend to, like, I was in a different university, not in Georgia University, but this was our federal main election,
Sure.
and same excuse I had that, and
Sure.
that's quite mind-boggling that you couldn't utilize
Anytime.
the time and stuff. But did you face any challenges, Rupalji, while you were running for your campaign, or any questions that came across your way which was quite surprising or was a little bit challenged?
So several challenges, yes. I would say first of all, the difference that I felt being the first time in elected sort of cycle, I'll go with the reward first and the challenge. The reward was that you have to solicit votes,
Yep.
which means you have to take a piece of that humble pie,
Mm-hmm.
whoever you are, whatever your background, and you gotta go knock on doors and say, hey, this is who I am. I'm Rupal Vaishnav. I'm running for judge. I'd love to get your vote.
Yes.
And then, depending on who the person is, the conversation could go in all different directions. And my kids helped me canvass. My wife helped me canvass. My poor son got yelled at in canvassing. Somebody yelled at him on a Ring camera doorbell. By the way, ring doorbells are the most challenging things nowadays, I feel like. And I had that tone like seared in my head. Ding dong on that ringtone. So, but it was still very humbling to do that. And I think everybody has to do that, because then you remember what it's like to earn these votes. Unfortunately, votes is only one piece of the puzzle for an elected or for someone like me. The other piece of the puzzle is fundraising.
Correct.
You cannot run a campaign, and some of the challenges are there. You cannot run a campaign without having funds to run a campaign. Everything from advertising, social media, YouTube advertising, you name it, billboard advertising, pamphlets, having the databases to decide who you're going to go canvass. And I can speak on that for another second minute. All that takes money.
Yeah.
And so the challenges are for an elected, or for someone like me who's running to be elected, is you need the time to address all of the individuals that you are trying to connect with, and you can't connect with everybody. My race was a countywide race. 42,000 people voted in my election. I cannot possibly connect with 42,000 people. So number one, you have to rely on these other mechanisms, mass mailing, social media, you name it, advertising blogs, billboards, to get your word out. So that requires money.
Yes.
So that was a challenge. Raising money in our community is I would say, by far the biggest challenge, because they don't understand how important and why funds are needed to run a successful campaign.
Yeah.
So if I can convince our community to say, look, I understand you can't go hold my sign up. I understand you can't go in the corner and wave or go canvass for me or something like that. You can help a candidate out, whether it's me or anybody, get engaged, donate a little bit.
Yeah.
As sad as that is, educating folks as why money is important to campaign is so important to get educated. Yeah. The odd question I was asked, a knock on the door, it happened to be someone from our community, and I said, hey, I'm a real professional, I'm running for judge. What will a judge do for me? Well, I'm certainly not going to fix your traffic tickets, but what will a judge do? A judge will do all sorts of things, not for you, but for the community.
Yeah.
The judge is solving the issues when there's a dispute between you and your neighbor. You want a fair judge, you want an educated judge, you want an experienced judge, and he's asking, what will the judge do for me? That was the most ignorant thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
On the other side, people didn't know what Hindu was, so some folks were like, where your faith is, where your faith. And I got into a 15-minute conversation about my faith and their faith, and had nothing to do with the election, and they were just talking about faith. And finally they said, well, I can't vote for you because you're not my faith, but I appreciate that you have a faith. So, if you would have told me that 10 minutes earlier, I would have gone to 3 other doors. But it was all fun.
Yeah, well, you educated someone about your faith.
Yes, I sure did.
And learned about other faiths.
That's right.
So,
but I would have loved to get her vote, but that's okay. Next time, I'll get her next time.
Yeah.
So.
While we discuss the process and misconceptions, something that I think, because I tend to always think from the dharma perspective or the dharmic aspect, what do you think that does the concept of dharma or civic duty connects with voting and public service?
So, I would say dharma commonly means to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And being a civic individual, your duty is to be participating in this civic exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Public service is a thankless job.
Yeah.
But someone has to do it. So might as well you contribute whatever you can.
Mm-hmm.
Simply just a vote or your time, effort, and money.
Yes.
Without doing the public service, the society cannot function.
Mm-hmm.
And if the society doesn't function, obviously that is not the dharmic thing. So we need to engage with the rightful mind. Think about what is good for the country, what is good for the community, before you think about what you can do for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we do it this way, that will be the essence of the dharmic philosophy. That is how I think.
I'm not as educated as you are on the issue of philosophy, but I will tell you there was one particular, when you're in the throngs of election, there are high moments, there are low moments. And it's when the low moments are occurring that you have to find within yourself the energy, the conviction to keep going out, right? You're meeting hundreds of people, some are openly telling you, I don't like you, I'm not going to vote for you, others are embracing you, and so forth. So as a human, that's hard to take, because people are openly telling you, I don't want you, I don't like you, I'm not going to vote for you, right? Like that lady said, I'm not going to vote for you. Despite whatever I told her after 15 minutes, I didn't convince her on one thing that had nothing to do with the election, but it was the way she was raised and the way she believed she's going to analyze the candidates. And so our faith, and I guess I'll call it dharma, but maybe more than that, the one thing that resonated with me the whole time, and my wife and I would talk about it, and she would remind me of it all night, goes, you do your duty, as it was, I think, in Mahabharata. Okay. You do your duty and don't worry about the consequences.
Absolutely.
Do your duty. You go out there every morning. That's your duty right now. You go out there and meet as many people as you can and convince them why you're the right person for this job. It's a job interview that will end in 6 months, but it's the longest job interview you're on. Absolutely. And so that's what it was. It's my duty. I don't care about the consequences.
Yes.
And when I take that to the perspective of me being just a citizen who's voting, I would say it's the same thing.
Yeah.
If you believe in it, if that's your duty, as we've talked about, you do it no matter the consequences. You just do it because that's your duty. Same thing with fundraising. Same thing, your candidate may lose. And you say, well, I gave you so much money, but you lost, right? And so it's not a win or lose in that perspective. It's not like an investment. It's your duty. And so I would say, if it's dharma or not, I'm not 100% sure. But I think there's so many good things that we've learned in our faith that are so applicable to what we face individually and the way of our life, that you do your duty, you don't worry about the consequences.
Yeah.
That's what kept me going. And sorry, I'm going to cut you off, but I think it ties to the concept of merit that we so believe in, meritocracy, that people with merit will rise to the top. You do your duty. If you're meritorious, you will succeed.
Yes.
And that's what is the reward that you want. We don't believe in mediocrity. We don't believe in anything else other than meritocracy. Yes. Right? He's a physician. I'm an attorney. Our community generally tends to be very merit-based, very merit-based. And if they will do their duty, I promise you, good things can only come out.
What can parents and or youth in the Hindu American community do to build a stronger civic mindset?
So if I start, I think as a parent, be a good role model, meaning you go out and vote before you tell someone. Okay. Secondly, get involved with the policies and create the advocacy groups also, meaning be part of groups like Hindus Opposed to PAC or make your own. Okay. Because that way you get educated about the subject, and then also you get the group that you can at least influence. Secondly, definitely discuss with your friends and family about your own views, but don't make it uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When you feel that the discussion is becoming very heated back, there is no political issue that is worth ruining a healthy relationship in the family. So back off there. I think that is what I would tell the parents.
Yes.
One more thing for the parents is, as he mentioned, donate to the candidates, donate to the cause. Because if you don't, then people who are worthy, especially such as Rupal, they don't get the chance to fight against people with the significant amount of money. So for him to get out his message, he needs that financial support. And for the youth, they should get participate. I mean, they definitely become participant in this process, but also learn this system. Because many of the times the youth would say, well, I'm for this agenda only and nothing else matters. Remember, especially the first generation, we have come from the background that you have no idea what we have gone through. Or that person's experience may be totally different. Listen to them. Then you make your mind that is fine. But don't just say that your concerns are not valid. I think that there should be that understanding from the second generation. That's what I would suggest to both of you.
No, I don't disagree. I think for me, I take a little different perspective, only from the education and learning curve. I think parents, especially if they've migrated here, the learning curve is getting to know the system, getting to know where you fit into that piece of the puzzle, right? Yes. And you start something as simple as go attend a board meeting, whether it's a school board meeting, whether it's a county board meeting. There are zoning hearings. There are public hearings on, for example, on the land use of just how the land around you is going to get developed in the community. There are public meetings for that. If you will just go and participate by just attending, you don't have to even say anything, just attend. What I saw a lot in the election cycle was a lot of folks would bring their little kids to the meetings, the community gatherings, whatever they were, right? Do that. Take your kids, especially if they're young and they're able to, be corralled by you. Go out there, spend an hour or two at these local meetings, take your kids with them. He said it 100%, role model, role model, role model. Yeah. If your young son or daughter will see you engage, they know this is what I have to do. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Just like in every other aspect, right? This is no different. Whether it's an advocacy group, whether it's a campaign, whether it's just your church, your temple, whatever it is, you get involved, have that community civic spirit. Doesn't have to be politics.
Yes.
Give back, donate, volunteer, take your kids with you when you get out there. That will do bucos to get them educated. For the young guys like you, like other folks, y'all know the system. The challenge there is getting you passionate about a cause that you can fight for. And what I've found more times than not, that if there's something that you get passionate about, then you're going to find a way to get engaged and get involved.
Absolutely.
That's across the board, whether you're a Hindu American or just an American with Hindu background, whatever you want to call yourselves. If you will find something either for or against, and you believe that it's passion, you have that passion, and I want you to get that passion. You talked about being procrastinators, talked about being, I don't have time. If it impacts you and you find a way to make that connection, a direct connection, youth will get involved. I have no issue. The last thing I'll say is, when folks are trying, no matter what spectrum of partisan politics they're on, right? People that look like me, people that look like you, and everybody else, every bit always chips away so the next generation and the generation after that has an easier job. So it's your job to build that step stool. It's your job, and I'm going to stand on your shoulders to get ahead. But then my kid, your kid, and everybody else's kid is going to step on those shoulders to get ahead.
Yes.
We have to understand those early shoulders, when he talked about the difficulty they've had, so important.
Mm-hmm.
You are not here where you are today without standing on those shoulders. So do your part,
100%.
lend out your shoulders, lend your shoulders, and the rest will follow. Yeah.
How can the other faith-based organizations or our regular regional temples, mandirs, any organizations in universities like Hindu Yuva or any other can help or do something to promote the civic engagement?
A lot of times I've heard, because I used to see this again when I was running election, is the temples will stay away because we're 501c3. We can't get involved in politics. We can't do politics. Well, you can as an organization, but you know what you can do? You have faith-based members, you have a congregation, you can have a conversation and say, this is what I think should happen. A lot of faith-based organizations, you know what they do? They'll hand out sample ballots and they'll say, we have vetted the candidates for you. These are the candidates that are going to help our causes. These are the candidates that are going to make our advances for us. And they hand them out. And they'll say, many faith-based organizations do this, and they'll say, because it's a time when the community comes together, it's a time when common interests are being discussed, it's a time when people say, how can we protect ourselves, protect our community, and move our interests forward? And those organizations will do that. So get a volunteer in this organization, get somebody to educate themselves on who the candidates are, what the positions are, and then they can have individual meetings. I'm not saying you do it officially if that's a violation of your tax code, but you can certainly get involved by saying, let's use the power of our congregation, informally, educate them, move them in a direction, and then make them a promise. Many organizations will say, look, you have to make a promise to us, as you make a promise to the faith, as you make a promise to the community, then go out and vote. Hold their feet to the fire.
Well, you don't choose a side, but you promote the idea that go vote someone.
Go vote. Whatever it is, go vote and do it. And if you give that message as part of the sermon, people will understand that. We don't do that right now. Right now, the void is completely.
We really we just have our hands off.
We do our temple or we do our religious side, and we don't worry about anything in the politics. And you've got to change that.
100%.
The temple is where the community comes together, gets educated, gets fed, gets learning and education. Make that part of that education.
I think this tax exempt status is the reluctance. I mean, that's the main reason for the reluctance.
Correct.
That there's we can do this and can do that. And secondly, they're also afraid of the repercussions that may happen. Because if they take a stand, I mean, many temples have been vandalized, they've been shot at and everything. So they don't want to paint a target on their back. So I see that also because I've spoken to many temple management committees, and they say, well, we don't have enough safety or the security measures. That if 10 people barge in, we don't have ways to stop them. So that's why they also kind of stay away from that. But the organizations like Hindu Yuva or Hindu Student Council, they should have regular interactions with the youth. I mean, engage with them, have them, let's say, some kind of talks or the conversations. I mean, like Rupal or someone who has gone through this process, they can come and talk to them and say, hey, this is how things are done. This is what is at stake. And if you do this, I think that can open them up.
Any final words or encouragement for anyone who is first-time voter or is hesitant to vote?
Take that step. Remember the sayings that I remember when I was running election. It's your duty. Don't worry about the consequences. And the rest will follow.
Yes.
At least what I tell people is, you must have heard this quote that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So if you don't participate, someone will make the decisions for you.
Yes.
And if you want to participate into this, go out, engage with people, ask questions. And that is what we do as a pack. That we make ourselves heard as a community. And we want the support of the community to make our voices loud.
Yes.
So definitely come out, vote and support.
We as Hindus, we light Diya to remove darkness. In democracy, voting is our Diya. Let's go and vote. And today, at least 100 times we have said, everyone has to vote. So let's all of us do our civic duty. Let's all vote. And if you like this video, like and share and keep talking.
Namaste.